Hi everybody, thank you for staying up this late to hear some couple of thoughts and ideas about product design. What does it mean and how does it look like and how does it look like to work as a product designer in agile environments. I'm honored to share these couple of thoughts with you, and before I start, I'd like to introduce myself to those who don't know me. My name is Vildana Lojo, and I've been actually working in the creative fields of architecture and product design for 11 years now. I hold a master's degree in architecture, and I worked as an architect a couple of years before dedicating myself to user experience and product design to what I'm doing now. I'm currently senior product designer in Zagreb, working with 5 agencies. But actually I'm here from Sarajevo, and I try to build a positive design community here by organizing Sarajevo Dribble meetups. And so far, last year, we had 3 of those with more than 270 participants. This is very important to me because events like this conference and these meetups are a great place to share ideas and get some know-how, tips and tricks, and which could help you grow yourself as a designer, developer, or product manager. Okay, so what is product design? How many of you actually heard or have a role of a product designer in your companies? Oh, good numbers. Okay, so product design in a nutshell, or according to Cambridge Dictionary, is a process of creating and improving products by learning what customers want and examining similar products on the market. And why actually this need for digital product designer or for a product designer in digital industries? Well, I'd like to share a couple of numbers with you. According to the latest surveys, in 2019, there are actually more than 1.5 billion websites on the internet. And there are more than 2.5 million apps on both App and Play stores. According to the latest reviews from the third quarter of this year, there have been 31 billion app downloads on both of these platforms, which actually generated $23 billion in spend or in money which drive through app purchases. So all these numbers actually indicate that there are 0.022% chance that average chance that we can acquire one user if we don't do any kind of strategy or thinking about our products. The odds are good, right? And like looking in business, product success means more users, means better user experience, and after all, it means more customers. And we know, like, more customers mean more revenue. And with product design, actually, we can address, plan, strategize the success of our products or products that we help our clients build and develop. But product design as a term or as a discipline is not designed in this canonical or stereotypical way of visual design or creating something visual, some interfaces, or some built products. Actually, it is a complete and much more complex process which has many different phases of creating different systems that can actually work and meet the market fit. So, in general, product design process has 5 phases, which come from strategy, research, definition, iteration, and execution. And it's very interesting. Since many of these phases have been traditionally, or especially that I know in Bosnia, have been kind of spread out through different roles in the companies, such as product managers usually did a lot of research, strategy, and definition for products, or which could also be facilitated with different roles, such as user experience researchers or interaction designers. On the other hand, development and UI designers actually overlap in this phase and could support some kind of execution for our general products. And just going back more briefly through each of these steps and following a couple of, if I could say so, activities that need to be done within this entire process. I'm going to each step by step. Generally, product designer, when it comes to strategy and research, their work consists basically of market research, user research, and stakeholder interviews. On the other hand, when they are working on a definition phase of a product, they work on defining user personas, features, user flows, and maybe even mapping customer journey maps. I know that maybe in a way that it could seem like a bit abstract, but many of these events and tools are actually happening, and they can actually happen even on our market and for our clients. And moving forward to another step of product design process, that is iteration, and it's more focused on interaction design, prototyping, and testing, and more in a way which is kind of focused more on the UX designers, and execution works in terms of development and building products and MVPs and releasing the stages. And product design again. Well, product design is actually deeply grounded in experiments and iterations. So the entire philosophy of being a product designer or working in a product or in a design-driven company or having a product design process is actually tracking what happens or making assumptions, tracking what happens with your product, and creating specific experiments which you want to validate and test. And it does sounds quite familiar, because Agile also works with this notion of learning fast, failing fast, and iterating. And product design actually is very much rooted, and one of its main core philosophies is design thinking. How many of you did heard about design thinking? Okay, cool. Well, I must say, one of my key goals for this presentation is kind of to demystify all these key buzzwords around product design, so you can see how you can apply it, no matter if you are a product manager or product owner, to your everyday design process. Okay, well, design thinking as a methodology is something that is actually invented in 50s and 60s during the last century. And it was called actually design or creative engineering. And it was mostly focused on discovery process for built products such as cars, small appliances, furniture, etc. And design thinking, on the other hand, as we know it today in terms of digital product design, is being popularized in the 80s and the rise of the digital culture and digital products by IDEO, which is one of the most famous consultancy companies which promotes this design thinking methodology. And their owner actually defines design thinking as a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from designer's toolkit to integrate needs of people, possibilities of technology, and requirements for business success. And in a nutshell, general process of design thinking actually has 5 stages. The first one would be to get to know your target users, market, define and to detect their pain points, need, goals, and how can you actually help them. The second stage would be to define all those problems and needs. In third stage, you would kind of generate a bunch of ideas and decide which idea you want to pursue, prototype it, make it tangible, and define the test for that. Interesting thing that I want to emphasize here, like generally in design thinking and in product design, doing tests as a phase or a step in the design process actually needs to be something where you need to define something tangible or something that you can measure, or that you can know that your assumptions or your first release has been successful. And it kind of sounds familiar. Well, it does. Because design thinking as a framework or as a methodology is tightly linked to other frameworks and models that guide product delivery, such as Lean Startup, Lean UX, product, Lean Innovation Model, and even Agile. I suppose that many of you heard about at least one of these. And in a nutshell, even though all these frameworks exist in different processes and everything, they actually serve to provide guidelines and help us reduce challenges of ever-changing competitive market. In addition, their key assumption is test, fail, learn fast, and iterate. so we can find the best possible market fit to our products, or if you have been to a previous presentation about the AHA moments, basically our value proposition would be a hey moment for our products, and we can be the 0.022% of acquiring new users. And what does it mean to work or to design products? Well, when we do work on designing the products, we need to address 3 core questions. And the first one is what we are building, and it relates to features, scope, or elements of an app or a product we want to release or we want to make an MVP for. The second question we always need to address and we always need to keep in mind is for who we are building. And that relates to our users, to our target customers, and to defining our market niche in order to understand what their main things, goals, and values that we can contribute to their everyday lives. And lastly, but not the least, what does success look like? In everyday product design process, you always need to have some kind of North Star key measurable metric that you know that your experiments or releases or new features that you have launched are being successful or not. It could be the number of acquired users, or it could be number of daily active users, or some kind of conversion in terms of if your users made purchases in this amount. And actually we address all these questions in a discovery phase. So how many of you in companies have actually do have discovery phase as part of their the processes in their companies? Okay, not much. And actually, by some default, product design is kind of linked to this discovery phase. And as an abstract definition of it, it would be that it is some kind of time-constrained experiment that serves as a polygon for detecting target audience, their needs, and key solution features in order just to leverage this business side of design and releasing products that we do on the market. And one of the most buzzed about keywords or frameworks for discovery phases is a design sprint. How many of you did heard about design sprints? And how many of you did try to work on them or kind of implemented them in your everyday basis? Okay, cool. Okay, so how were your experiences with the design sprints? Did it work?
No.
Why?
Well, people usually, I will speak about them. Obično se u stvari kod nas ovo design sprint ne postoji taj dio nekako. Obično čak kod vas kao dizajner, dizajner u stvari kreirate, istražite malo da nacrtate i to je to, recimo tako nekako. Tako da ovo design sprint, obično je to, u stvari to je jako kratak proces. Imate vremena da radite ovaj design sprintove zbog brzine isporuke proizvoda, recimo tako. Tako da u stvari design sprintovi su jako, u stvari to je jedan sprint, nije design sprints, nego jedan sprint kojim se završi. Tako da u stvari to je to nekako, nemate fazi testiranja.
Why did it work in your organization?
It did.
It did? Okay, cool.
It is a short period, but the goal of the design sprint is to get at least a sort of a prototype or a feeling about what you want to have. So that's, I think, the most of the ultimate goal of it. You don't need to build essentially the entire application, everything else.
Okay.
Define the flows, define what the expectations, as you said in the previous slide in discovery, what those aspects are, and then again, figure out what your next steps are. So it's like a sort of a, I don't know, a chunk of an MVP, let's say, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm kind of trying to leverage with you all of these, let's say, buzzed up words in a way that I have been working here also as a designer, and I kind of understand and know which are the procedures that were currently happening on the market here. But it doesn't mean that we cannot or we are not able to kind of implement broader and more in-depth design process in our own companies. And even though like design sprint is generally buzzed up and kind of everybody knows about it, but they are kind of having some struggles implementing it, I just want to share a couple of tips and ideas how you can kind of discuss with even other colleagues and different people from different areas and product managers that even they can facilitate and help designers and product managers to work together and include more clients. And design sprints, they are trending framework for the product discovery, but their highest value is kind of exposing their highest value is for exposing the entire product design process and kind of letting your client or your product owner being more aware about how this entire generation of idea works like, and you kind of this is a great tool to become a strategic partner for your client in terms of you kind of make them feel more involved, and you can even suggest them to try new features or discover possible for you together. You can discover possible different paths for MVPs or future releases. And when it comes to design sprint, like there are many ways or there are many types of design sprints. It actually became popular because Google kind of have worked on their own, and Google Ventures worked on their own. It doesn't have to be like a design sprint by the book, or you don't need to follow the Google design sprint by the book. You can try to find what works best within your organization and even in Bosnia and Herzegovina and for our clients. And in general, design sprint does lay on the foundation of that design thinking, and you do have this time-constrained exercise to go with. It can be like 3 days, it could be 5 days. There are many methodologies saying it could be 4 days, it could be even like 1 month. You can find something that works both with you, for your organization, for your stakeholders. And in general, the first 2 phases are kind of understanding the problem and detecting the pain points and opportunities. After that, you kind of generate a bunch of ideas, decide on what do you want to test, and after that, you make something tangible which you can test on, and you validate or use the metric and see whether you are going in the right direction or you need to pivot to go somewhere else. But product design is not just only something that you do during the discovery phases, and it is not something that you do like in the initial part when the project or product is being kicked off. It's something that you are actually doing continuously as part of the product delivery process. And product designers here, or companies that do actually push the product design mindset, should always try to focus to assess and validate their current business goal and the current state of their app, and try always to innovate and propose different products and experiments by using the tools we kind of mentioned. Product design is. Actually, I want you, I hope if you haven't fallen asleep since it's too late, but actually this is the key stuff I want for you to remember after you go out from this presentation in terms of what product design is. And it actually means that you are working on a series of experiments and iterations while focusing on 3 main topics: business goals, what does define the business of your client or your own product or startup you're working on, customer needs, and product look and feel. So in general, or in ideal scenario, product designer would do all of these things, or would do all of these things and would help with some product managers, researchers, and specialists in their area. And I guess you all kind of wonder, how does it relate to products I work on, and how does it relate actually to, what does it mean to my organization in terms of our current market in Bosnia and Herzegovina? Well, actually McKinsey released a research about business value of design related to the companies who actually promote, who have built the design-driven company culture and design-driven processes, and they have come to a conclusion that companies who are design-driven actually reach 10% growth, which is 7% more than the other companies have in the last years, and this trend is growing. Also, in terms of return of the investment, for all those companies who actually introduced product design, their investment kind of the initial return investment to their shareholders was 21%. And when they kind of asked all those executives who were working on implementing design culture and product design mindset into their companies, what were the actually top key things that they needed to focus on and improve in order to build the design-driven company, they said that the first thing is actually teaching the leadership about the analytical approach and implementing the user-centered strategy. The second one was actually building a cross-functional teams and talents in terms of that you don't need to do all work as yourself by a designer, yet you can work in a team of specialists, product managers, and product owners. The third thing was kind of introducing the continuous iteration in a sense that entire company was aware and was kind of promoting the user research. It could be qualitative and quantitative. They integrated the market research and business research. And of course, they kind of it has this mindset to test, refine, repeat, and repeat. Okay. And lastly, of course, the improving the general user experience in a way that the user is always the focus and the customer is always in focus was also one of the key elements to build a design-driven company culture. And to them, design was just more than a feeling. It is a C-level priority for a growth and a long-term performance. But honestly, it does not have to be a designer's job, and a designer doesn't have to do that all. And I really like the comment from Ansar that actually he, as a project manager, he has the ownership for facilitating the user research and tracking the metrics. In a default or ideal scenario, you would have some kind of design specialist tracking that, or you could have a product or project manager who actually also facilitates that and kind of leverages this whole complexity of product design in a company. And additionally, InVision actually released their design hiring report in terms of which are top skills that define a good product designer or generally product design mindset. And one of the most key trending skills were project management, engineering, business operations, psychology, and research, which I think are some of the core skills for all people working with projects and managing products. And at the end of the day, product design, by kind of introducing a couple of chunks of product design, letting ourselves evangelize the product design in general and teaching how leveraging design process, we can try to transform our organization, yes, even here in Bosnia. And we can, by kind of introducing this product design mindset, we can deliver our products more efficiently. And we can become strategic partners for our clients. And we actually can get more ownership instead of just pushing pixels or just having that one day of design sprint, as you said. And we can definitely break silos between disciplines. And I must say this is something that is actually happening. We have seen some great examples from the company here in Bosnia on this conference that they are actually kind of sharing their activities and responsibilities. So this is something that we can all work on. Thank you.
I have a question. So based on my experience, working in design sprints and project and product discovery phases, the big impact during those phases is on the product designer. Now you need to do user flows, user personas, understanding everything about creating either wireframes or something like that. How do you, from your experience, cope with that? Meaning, like, in that short period of time, you need to think about entire business and entire business model and process that application needs to do, or web page or whatever.
In general, in my experience, I can leverage and do everything, but it is always good to work with a team and have a support from, let's say, product managers to kind of give you some kind of analytics or some kind of intro to get some research on monetization, for example. But in general, you usually work as a team and you kind of divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. But in an ideal scenario, a good product designer should be able to understand the market, fit, monetization, everything, should be able to produce that, and should be able to conduct user research and understand kind of diverge everything. So,
what is most challenging for you? I mean, I'm trying to understand the role of
each of the steps of the product.
Uh-huh.
I really love each of the steps of the process. I wouldn't say it is challenging. The only thing that is challenging is maybe time. But I'm okay if you don't have time to kind of share and to get a helping hand for somebody to kind of do the research or do just visual designs or something like that.
What's the first thing that you compromise on if you're constrained by time?
Good question. Well, I would try to strategize time in terms, I try to manage myself and a team that I work on in a way that we can see what is kind of obtainable, what is deliverable, and we communicate clearly what we can achieve or not. But I wouldn't say that you can actually prioritize. You can always follow up. You always need to do some kind of research because you need to build an empathy for the product and the user. You need to kind of have this understanding of what your stakeholders or business owners want and need. But at the end of the day, you need to deliver something in the sense of visual and prototype and give some results. I would, in a like real world scenario, and I would say that if I wouldn't have time, I would try to kind of get help in terms to get like more designers, maybe someone to work on visual designs while somebody is kind of generating ideas and working with the UX. So I would go to that like team management phase in terms of, okay, we need a bigger team. So you have like
but never
nine mothers and baby in one month.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said what?
But you just do it by putting in more people. So is there a moment where you're just dropping one of the
You
steps?
usually have a product designer. Senior product designer is the one who is kind of responsible for the entire, it depends from the organization to organization. So maybe in one organization you have the product designer who has the ownership of this product generation or the experiment ideation. And they have this responsibility to kind of collect the data and kind of make it into something which is kind of make it into ideas and then to test them and then to present them finally in terms of some designs. But you can also like get help, or you can have some specialist, which is user researcher, who will get that part of the research to you as a team. Or a product manager who did the research. Okay.
The latest research shows that user journey and user persona are not valuable that much to the project because they are kind of abstract. What's your opinion?
Which research?
So many of them.
No. It's
Okay, we'll have a, yeah, okay, do you want to answer it today?
yeah, I want to answer. But you can.
Okay, well, I would say like the user persona, it depends how you kind of form your user personas. In product design, user persona becomes a customer, and you have this another additional layer of real data, which is kind of formed in a real market. So you have this additional layer which kind of brings them much closer, especially if you have like new products, you can at least detect with the research like what your personas are doing. You can get like their basic data and you can kind of track it. So it is important in terms of you can say like I'm building a startup for the entire world. It's always like easier to kind of drill down the needs and jobs to be done for their users. But yes, please.
That's the point. Probably people are going for jobs to be done and user needs versus the user personas, but they can be used for two different things.
Yes.
And user persona is one way to empathize with the user.
Yes.
You cannot empathize with the need of general user, and still you can do segmentation.
Yes. You have this entire layers to complexity in product design. But the good thing is that actually designer doesn't have to kind of, you can always work with someone who is, let's say, a specialist in market research, which has this background in economy, which will get together this jobs to be done part to you, and you can ideate together a solution.
But usually in our companies, you have one person who do all that stuff. Marketing research, user experience, user interface, testing, only one person. So
Yes,
that's
I
the problem.
understand that. Yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
know,
reason
like-
I said we have only one sprint, so that's the problem with designs
Yes,
in
well,
my case.
actually, my intentions and hope was that here somebody who is like people from project management, that you could work together with designers, kind of to push this product design mindset into your organization and kind of try to step by step do a small revolution to your C-level management to kind of explain them which are the values of this. And I hope that you got some useful insights. Okay.
What's your opinion in the PM doing on the wireframes and stuff like that? I think from my perspective it's really positive thing, but I want to hear it from you.
Well, it depends from scenario to scenario. I mean, like when you're working with people, you have all these kind of different personalities. If you have, the best thing I would personally do is to kind of sit with people who have, because I think that everybody has like the same goal. we want to make better products and we want to kind of have this more ownership and we want to share our ideas and insights to our clients. So if you have some kind of discrepancies between these two roles, the best way is to kind of to educate each other and to discuss, okay, to kind of maybe to brainstorm and to work together, to try to work together.
To see them engaged in the product and
Why not utilize that in both ways? That's it.